Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Sandrian of We with Sandrian, and today I have a guest with us from Grenada, Amy Jones. I'm really excited to have you here, Amy. Amy is a poet and an author, and I'm sure there's other things she probably can tell us about herself. So Amy, tell us about Amy.
Well, like you said, I am a writer. I am a poet, but as of now, I'm focusing on short story writing and novels in general.
Sorry, so you're a little soft, so if you can speak a little louder, so I heard short story writing and...
Yes, so I think I probably need to get a little closer. Right. So my name is Amy. I am a writer. I'm a poet, and I do poetry, short stories, novel writing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I've been writing for as long as I can remember. I think I remember my first poem being at around the age of 8, 9. And from since then, I have been dabbling in poetry. I used to love rhyming couplets. And from there, it just went off until I started becoming really interested in short story writing in secondary school. And from there, progressed poetry, spoken word, novel writing, and that's what it has been.
Okay, so wow, that's a lot. And 8 to 9 is pretty young. So I'm glad though for my young viewers out there, you can start your love at any age, 8 to 9, and you can be an adult and still carry on the things that you started loving as a child. So thanks for that. I'm gonna just you mentioned you did it in secondary school. If you want to share, what high school did you go to? Sorry.
Sure. I went to the St. Joseph's Convent, Grenville. And I went to the St. Andrew's Methodist School.
Okay, so I give you a thumbs up because I also am a St. Joseph Convent at HJC girls, so I'm always excited to talk to girls that went to HJC. Of course, we were not in the same year because I don't ever remember seeing you, so I was long gone. But you know, I have a lot of good memories about HJC, so I was excited to meet somebody from HJC.
Okay.
And I scout them out, you know, I don't wear the ring, but the rings are always the same. So even here, when I see someone on the ring, did you go to SJC in Grenada? Was it St. George's? Was it St. Andrews? Is it Trinidad? You know, so I'm excited. So thanks, Amy, for telling us that. We gotta go into, because I know you wrote some books and some poetry, so we're gonna chat a little about that shortly. But I asked someone some interesting things about Amy. Nothing personal, but I also understand that you love creating, which makes, you know, a lot of sense. You love fixing things around the house, and you have an emoji thing that you created, so we can chat about that, an emotion board or something. And I heard you picked up something new lately, crocheting.
Well, listen, Abby has been busting all my files then. Abby's just been saying everything. Well, you know her as Grace, but full name. Yeah, she's right. Ever since I was very young, I've just liked doing things with my hands. And poetry is something I actually started, not poetry, sorry, crochet is something that I actually started in grade 4 in primary school. And I think over time you get bored with it when you have new interests. And my mom randomly bought me some wool last year, and I picked it up because I haven't had crochet thread in such a long time. So she knows that I like doing these things. She just randomly brought me a pin and something, and then I've just been spending my free time, when I actually have free time, doing that a little more than I have been writing these days.
Well, you know what? It shows though, and I mean, I'm going to talk about writing like way back when we used to use a pen and stuff. So it shows though that you do like to do things with your hands, right? Crocheting, writing, you know. I know now we type, but we still use our hands. Now some people dictate, you know, they don't even use their hands anymore. But it shows that you're into arts and you're into creating things, which is one of the things that person told me will remain nameless. That person told me about you. So tell us a little bit about I know your books are on Amazon. Sorry, so you'll tell us a little bit more how we can get them. What I saw, though, and I know you said you wrote a lot, but I saw 3 books, I believe, on Amazon. One was a poetry, a composition of poetry. It says Beyond Fable is the name. Tell us why that Beyond Fables, sorry, why that name?
So I started working on that manuscript sometime in 2011. And most of the times, the poems that I would have liked reading were a lot of fiction. Mm-hmm. And eventually when I started writing from a place that was personal and also from the experiences of others. And I think I focused a lot on women and young girls and my own experiences in terms of, conversations that you have with your friends or things that they have experienced. And I just wanted to write something that was real. So the poems are not story tales, but they are beyond the fables that we used to hear.
Okay, so now I get it. Yes, so now I get the name. I'm like, they're not fake, they're not a story. It's beyond that. It's things from your personal experiences, people that you meet, and so forth. Which leads me then, because I haven't picked up a book yet, but I'm going to be doing so shortly, because I always like to pick one up and just read it. And I usually like to have it before I do the interview, but in this case, it wasn't. It didn't happen at this point. But I did do some research about it. And Beyond Fables, it says it's a collection of poems. And themes are tributes to mom, love, celebrating strong Black women, and the struggle, a tribute to the struggle of women. So is that something that's, I'm going to assume, love and the theme, they're all kind of some similar, the love, the mother, the women, the struggles of, women. Is it something that you're passionate about, or?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think at that time, growing up, looking at the news, looking at society as a young Black woman, and just recognizing that sometimes a lot of the things that should be out there and should be shined upon is kind of quiet. So I wanted to focus on something where women would have been able to be magnified a little. And sometimes even there's a section that speaks about the struggles of womanhood. That's something that we need to talk about as well. We have to be able to discuss what's happening and how can we address this problem, find relative solutions for them. So it's definitely something that I have been passionate about, and I still am.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question though. Can I ask, is that like your full-time gig, or that's just something on the side? And because you said you're passionate about the struggles of women, is that something that you do career-wise? Is that, or you put it in your poetry?
It's in my poetry and my writing, but it's not something that I do full-time. I do have a full-time job, and sometimes I do get time to kind of mesh between school, personal life, work, and poetry. These days, I have been trying to balance myself a little more, but it's not something that I do full time when I used to have a lot of time to do that. So it's something that I could say no, that I kind of do on the side and not so much full time as I used to before.
Okay, so we're gonna move from Beyond Fable in a bit, but you mentioned something, and just because I know one of the themes were about celebrating strong Black women, and I know Black History Month is coming up in February, but I wanted to touch on that because I know you live in Grenada, and is this book meant for beyond, or is it for women in Grenada, or you see it on a broader market, reaching the Western world? Because I'm a Grenadian also, I know, and when I was younger, I didn't see me as a Black woman. Like, I knew I was a Black woman, but everybody around me looked the same. So I didn't find there was a struggle about me being Black. There were struggles for women, right? And I know you talk about that, the struggles of women. So do you see, is this book meant for people or for every woman? Like, did you write it on a broader scale? You wanted to reach every woman?
Yeah, my intention was to reach as much people as it could reach. The book was published in 2014. Like I said, I started writing it 2010. I think one of the very first poems I wrote was in 2010. And like I said, listening to the news and listening to a lot of things happening around, I grew up understanding that we were very sheltered from a lot of things that had to do with Black people, right? We don't have racism in our society as we do classism. But when I stepped out of Grenada and I spent some years in another country, I was able to realize that we are extremely privileged because we have persons who look just like us, like you said. And we don't have that struggle that the other worlds or the other countries in the world have. So when I saw that firsthand, I started to think, hey, there's something about us that we have to realize we're not living in the same place, but we're the same people. We have the same skin tone, and we have to be able to understand what others are experiencing as well, to appreciate where we are. And I say people and not women, because we need our men to read the poems, understand the stories, and understand us as well. Right? Sometimes we tend to think, okay, if it's Women's Day, we don't have to focus on the men, we're celebrating our women, but we need them to kind of get where we're coming from and what we're experiencing and how they can assist us. So when the book came out years later, 2014, 15, I think a couple copies ended up in China, and all over the US, and I had friends who were purchasing and passing on, and so it's reached, I think it reached further than my two other books did, and a lot of persons had their varying opinions, but I think poetry and writing reaches who it needs to reach at a particular time.
And thanks for that. And yes, with poetry, I find a lot to cross all kind of cultural barriers, countries, skin tones. Poetry is good. It's uplifting, right? You mentioned a few things though, and thanks for saying, yes, when we live in certain countries, we're Grenadians, we sort of in a bubble because we don't understand. And yes, what exists is classism, right? And for me, when I was growing up, I think to colorism, if I want to use that word, right? But when you travel, you realize there are other struggles out there, women are struggling based on a number of things now. So thanks for, taking us beyond that, even if you didn't live it all your life, but recognizing that it exists and writing something that not just people of where you're born or you live can appreciate, but as you said, it reached China, the US. So women and people and men, thanks for saying that also, can understand the struggle and help however they can, because,
definitely,
it is what it is. The world now is still dominated by a lot of men. So if we get the support, that can help struggling women push us forward, right? Thank you for that, Amy. I like it. I can't wait to read those poetry. I'm going to call you back when I get the book, and we're going to do we'll do an evening of poetry for Black History Month. Sure. Actually, yes, we'll do that.
I don't mind reading you probably for the different books. I don't have a problem reading one or two.
Pick one for us now. Which one would you like to?
My favorite poem in this book, which has to be the very first one written.
I'm gonna put my volume up a little.
Favorites. So I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4 titles, and you can tell me which one you want to hear.
Sorry, I didn't hear you there. I don't know why you're really quiet. Maybe it's my volume, which I'm trying to.
Okay.
I'm trying to put up. Sorry. No luck here. But sorry, which one?
Okay.
So you're gonna read.
So I said I'm giving you 4 titles.
Let me hear them.
You're going to choose which one you want to hear. So there's Black Woman, 5. Black Woman, Woman of Worth, Rest in Peace, Eyes, and Riddance.
Ooh, they all sound good. I like Women of Worth. But I like the last one. Was it Rhythms?
Riddance.
Which one?
So Riddance, as in to rid.
Okay, let's do women of worth.
Okay. That's page 18. Okay. Woman of worth. I hope I'm clear enough that you can hear. You see, it's a simple mistake she make that have her like this, going through man after man after man like it's some kind of necessity. They're all willing to take a taste, and with woos and lyrics, they come first, enticing her. Precious gem, jewel eyes, pearl she is. But after all it's faded away, she's just another statistic. Another Black woman that just can't seem to keep her legs closed. Another Black woman has fallen. Wailing mothers beg them to sound their prayer alarm. Oh, how she has lost the true essence of what love is. Received another pound of flesh thrusted forcefully without a feeling of remorse and care, just to replace the first pound of flesh that first man stole. Soul, mind, body sails on an ocean of tears as she regrets every move they make in unison. He, a man with no understanding of what true love can possibly be, pushes another Black woman off his hairy chest, pulls up his rags, picks up his garbage, his wrappers and cigars, and walks away with not one thing to say. The door slams, her face, another blank stare, another man, another soul tie, another midnight craving for a man I barely even know. Black woman, open up your eyes and see your worth, your natural beauty, your value. Woman, you are the salt of the earth. Yes, Papa God molded you from a man's rib from birth to be his helpmate and his comfort, but not no sex slave. Not because you come from dust, you should forever be dirt. Woman of substance, woman of worth. Stop make Black man feel like he own you. Instead of genuine love, he wants to show you. He wants to prop up your legs in all kind of unsanitary places and do nothing but misuse you. Comfort he never give you. A dollar he never hand you. A child he never mind with you. And when nightfall, he turns you into his personal roller coaster, but when day breaks, he never owns you. Wailing mothers cry. Another Black woman is down with no reason to put a smile on a stained face frown. No essence of trust and belief in herself, no pride, no hope, no luck. She travels with her head down, bombarded by the thoughts of the painful things she couldn't stop. She ponders, what a calamity. My destiny was spoiled by me. Well, look how I go and lose my way in he. Sold my sanity for unfulfilled prosperity, cut off from all morality, and living with the nightmare of a robbed virginity. But as she proceeds, walking towards history, I raise my head high and watch her as she fades away into the sunset, gone with the wind. This change, metamorphosis, my birth, caused me to lose instantly all memory of him tearing off my shirt, making me feel all my life like a Black man's toy, like filth, like death. These memories I desert. Pull off this masking scar and let be born anew, me, this woman of worth.
Wow. Amy, okay, I'm glad I picked that one. I didn't know it was gonna go that deep, and it did explain. It was self-explanatory.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that was very deep. I think in that poem you touched everything: the social, the psychological, the slavery past, the past we leave, where we should be in the future, where we should be now. But I'm going to ask you: is that based on? Hold on. You don't have to answer. Is it based on personal experience or things you've seen or?
Yeah, this one is
what you believe.
This one isn't personal. This one is a combination of experiences of others, things that I read, things that I see, things that I notice around. It's just a combination of, this one isn't personal. This is a combination of a lot of things that I think I thought at the time needed addressing.
I really like that. Man, now I really need to get that book. But it was, because I think sometimes we don't know our worth. Sometimes we lose ourselves. So we're so lost. We don't even know who we are or where to start or where to end. Or we become so many different things along the way to so many different people. And in this case, the opposite sex probably, that we can't pinpoint who we should be today or next week when we meet this other person. So I like that. Let's walk off in the sunset. Let's lift our head up high. Let's know a word. Thanks, Amy. And it's a nice way to put it in poetry because it's humorous still, but it's really deep. I found it very thoughtful and candid, you know.
even after I wrote this, I think even without recognizing, I think it was something for me. A lot of the times when I do read over my poetry, I think without even knowing it, I'm writing to myself as a Black woman, a reminder that I have value and I have purpose. And sometimes I may make decisions that aren't the best for me, but I have to remember who I am and lift my head and look back, you know, just as a reminder of where I've come from and, you know, have a vision to move forward.
I like that. There's a reminder from where you came from and a vision to move forward. And ladies, I'm just going to put it out there and males too. Even if where you came from wasn't pretty, even if your past was all rocky, even if I'm not thinking about when we were back in the motherland being kings and queens, I'm thinking about, you know, you're now, right? You could still shake yourself up, you know, and walk out to here with your head high. You know, I always said it's never too late, really. It is what it is. You can leave your past behind. You're gonna hear things. I always say that you gotta have to learn at some point to grow some tough skin. People are gonna say things. People, if we're gonna talk about the poem, guys may say things after you pass. What's she playing? You know, girl, walk with your head high because today is your new day, right? You're stepping out. This is my new day. I don't care what I did last week, and you be so sure. Yeah, that was me last week. Not today.
Yeah,
you know. New girl. So thanks, Amy. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So we're going to talk about another book, The Chains That Bind. The Chains That Bind, sorry. So tell us about that one.
Yeah, Chains That Bind is my debut novel. It is a Grenadian novel. If you are from Grenada, if you know anybody who is Grenadian, you know, we kind of speak a particular way that, you know, everybody knows you have to be from somewhere in the Caribbean, you know, that little spice, I don't know. So Chains That Bind is a fictitious novel, but it still rests on little snippets of truth that make our culture and our society a little unique from everyone else's. And I wrote this book while living in Trinidad. I always tell this story that I was a little homesick and I wanted to come back home. I was studying at the time and I just had a little bit of enough. And I tried to finish my 4-year degree a little earlier and get out of there. But I think at the point in time, I needed to be there. But I didn't understand that then. So while there, you know, I started this blog called Diary of a Caribbean Girl. And I used to do a blog for every day of the week. And on this particular day, I just started typing as my mind would lead me if I was home and there was a little brawl in a community and how neighbors would respond. And I sent it to one of my friends and he was like, you know, this real nice. You should work on it. So from 2017 to 2019, I worked on this little story that turned into this novel that most persons are really, really enjoying. Every time they pick it up, they say they love it. So that's a little bit of what the book is about. Just a little bit.
So you're saying it's a good book if you're feeling homesick, you should pick up that book.
I'm telling you, if you are, the names are not the same. You wouldn't see Grenville and let me see, Grenville and Guave and those places, but you know, if you're reading, you might be able to say, hey, this kind of sounds like it could be this place or it could be that. Yeah.
I think that was the one I did read, when you read the back, and I was like, is that the one with Mr. James?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
and I was like, yeah, I'm sure I heard that story I'm sure I lived out that life at some point, hearing it from a neighbor when I was
I know. I think most persons who've read it always say, yeah, they know somebody who, you know, we have this this way of life here back in the days where some family member would go across to one of the islands to work, and they say they go in for 2 months and it turns into 20 years and they never come back. So that the story kind of leans on this thing that used to happen in the 60s.
Well, it was happening in the 70s and the 80s too. So yes, I've heard it. I've heard it. So thanks. So guys, you're here. If you're homesick and you want to feel like, well, I'm from La Digue. So if you want to feel like you're somewhere in the surrounding areas like me, La Digue, La Cachute, wherever, pick up that book. There's a character there that may remind you of someone.
True.
Okay, so tell us about A-Z or A to Z Odyssey.
Yeah. So A to Z Odyssey is the one I like to call the hybrid book because it's poetry, but it tells a story. So if you read it from Z to A or A to Z, it tells a story with different poems. This one addresses specifically relationships and how family relationships first can affect us personally and how we form relationships with others. And one of the things that I like mentioning is it's not personal, but there are stories in there that will feel like they were written from someone's experience. Because when I write, I like my poetry to be interpretive. I like when persons, I don't like to explain what a poem means. I like when you pick it up, you can decide for yourself what it means for you. Because I think it's everybody would have a different interpretation. So I think the way I write, it should do the poem justice enough to be self-explanatory.
Okay.
So A to Z Odyssey speaks a lot about abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, tumultuous relationships, narcissism, and how those things stem from relationships with our parents. And those relationships affect us. And then in turn, we are affected by other persons who've had those experiences with their parents. And we come together, and then there are so many things that happen. But that's basically what it's about. I like to call it a hybrid because it definitely tells you a story, but it's not a novel, it's poetry.
Okay, so before we wrap up though, do you think, especially now that you mentioned that book, it talks a lot about different things and it's that sort of hybrid book. Do you think if a male viewer, male was to pick up let's say pick up that book, for example, is there something that he can learn also? Because you talk about narcissism and all this sort of stuff. From the poetry, could a male viewer say, that's me, and maybe I don't want to be this way,
Maybe. Maybe. There's each poem in the book represents a letter in the alphabet. So there are 26 of those poems here, or 27, one in the beginning, and the 26, and there's a summary at the end. It could be a free-form poem, however you look at it. But there's one G which speaks about gaslighting. And I think if sometimes it could be a male who may be guilty of that, or a woman who may be guilty of that, you may be able to recognize, hey, I may have these traits that may be affecting my partner and how they are, how we are relating to each other.
I like that. So guys as well as girls, females, male, if you picked up one of Amy's books, there's something you could learn. If it's you, if the characters fit your personality, if it's something good, high fives. Actually, I'm gonna stop saying high five because someone told me high fiving and COVID is not the way. So, that's, elbow fist pump,
Yeah, true.
elbow bounce, right? And if it's something that reflects negatively, you can also change that too, and be that good partner or perfect partner that you should be. What's gaslighting?
Okay. So gaslighting is a psychological term which basically explains how an individual uses their power to sort of make you feel like what you're saying or experiencing really isn't the case. So it's a form of narcissism. And they are basically trying to make you feel like how you're feeling, it's not real. So they're continually saying things to you, and based on how you respond, you would say, that's not the case. That's not the case. That's not what I meant, when that's what it is. So eventually you start feeling like you're wrong, and that's not what you're experiencing. That's not what's being said. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, they make you feel like, it's not even reality anymore. Like you just kind of lost now.
Yeah.
But kind of like they're lying. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
All right. Because I know this is a term that comes up a lot now. I hear it a lot, gaslighting, he's gaslighting. I don't even know if we really know what it means, but everybody uses it. So thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, some persons may not be aware that they may not be aware of what it is or where it comes from because they hear other persons talking about it. But it comes from psychology, understanding of the mind and the study of psychology, and counselors and stuff will be able to explain to you what it is and how to identify it. And sometimes even ourselves, we may not even recognize that we're also doing it to others.
Okay, so I don't want to gaslight anyone, and I hope, but now after reading those poems, I should be able to identify at least if I'm being gaslighted, if that's a word. So Amy, thanks for being with us today. So I really did enjoy, honestly, the poem about worth. That will be the first one I'm gonna read again. And thanks for all the books you put in there and the thought that you put into it, based on your experiences, based on where you live, based on, I guess your experiences, and giving us some good poetry. That's mind changing. It's not just jokes and laughs, but it gives us something to think about and make some changes if we can. And I like the fact that you focus on a lot on women and love and mothers and stuff like that. I'm gonna go out here and assume you had a strong Black woman in your life somewhere.
Yes, of course. Of course.
I'm gonna assume one of them would have been your mom.
Yeah. Yes. My mom and I are I think I am the younger version of her. So if you understand what it's like sometimes dealing with yourself, you have like rocky patches sometimes because you understand yourself best than anybody else would. But we have a good relationship. But there, as everybody else, mother-daughter relationship, there are times when, things are not perfect, but she was the best example I could have had in my lifetime. If I have to do my life all over again, I think I would not want another mother.
Well, that's good. So shout outs to your mom then. She's going to watch this video, I'm sure, and she's going to be very proud and show it to all her friends who already know what a great daughter you are and what a great mom she is. In conclusion, is there any piece of advice, anything you want to say to end this video to any budding artist, to any young woman, any struggling, anybody in a narcissistic relationship, anything you want to share before we close?
So for young writers, I always say this to persons who tell me that they're writing poetry or they want to do an anthology. Never stop writing. That was something that was told to me, and I'm glad that person told me. Sometimes we don't write for ourselves. We're writing for someone else who needs to hear it. So there are a lot of times when I was young and I was writing, I was like, this is not good. Woman of Oath was one of the poems I hardly ever share because I never really liked it. I wrote it for an event. But most times when persons hear it, they always say how much it resonates with them. So never stop writing. That's one piece of advice I got, and I like to pass along. And if you ever want to publish, I'm always available. One message or call away to give you the rundown on how to go about self-publishing, because I'm a self-published author. When I started writing and I thought about putting together my poetry, I had the two close persons to me. Both of them discouraged me from writing. And I think if I believed the things that they said, I would not be where I am today. So I'm always willing and open to give persons the advice I did not get. And for persons who are experiencing challenges in their lives, there is always going to come a time when the things that we look at now, and we're experiencing now, we're going to look back and we're going to laugh at ourselves. We're going to say, wow, I can't believe that I got out of this. So keep persevering, keep pushing. Remember to have right supportive people around you. If you're in a relationship with someone who is cutting you off from everybody else, that's not who you should be, because you need to have the right support around you.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. And I'm glad you didn't stop. I'm glad you didn't get discouraged. And I know, yes, sometimes it's discouraging coming from the people closest to you. And sometimes they do it from a place of love.
Yes, definitely.
You know, it's not meant to be malicious. And they can only think in the box where they are. And I'll quickly say, I remember, I think it was Tyler Perry was watching and he was saying, but yes, people do that you love say things not to hurt you. However, though, sometimes you can't always share your vision with everybody. And even if you did and they discourage you, if it's your vision, stick to your vision, really stick to it. It could be discouraging sometimes, but keep going at it, right? Yeah. So thanks, Amy, for keep going at it. And guys, she said she's more than willing and able, a phone call or text away. So I'm going to throw in her. If you want to reach Amy, you can text me, you can email me, at wedo7806@gmail.com. Amy, tell us where to find your books.
Okay, so if you're in Grenada, you can get books from me. I am on Instagram and Twitter. I do have a Facebook page. I don't have Facebook profile, but it's Amy J.W. Jones or at amy.j.w. Jones. That's Instagram, Amy J.W. Jones 1 on Twitter. Instagram and Facebook are linked. So if you find me on one, you most likely gonna get
the Instagram is at Amy J.W. Jones. So your name.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you're also on Facebook and Twitter. Okay, but we can find you on anyone and you respond.
Yeah, sure. I would.
Thank you. And your books are on Amazon. So you just
They're on Amazon.
They on your Instagram page also? Or?
Yeah, I do. That's my Instagram page, Twitter page, and the Facebook page are strictly for writing. So you're always going to find a link to a book somewhere on any one of those. And if you Google or let me not say Google, if you just search on Amazon, Amy J.W. Jones, you're going to find my books will come up.
Perfect. Yeah. And you can put in, because I put in the names too. If you put in the names,
if you put in the names, you definitely find them.
So Amy J.W. Jones on Amazon, you'll find her. And guys, I'm looking at it in Canadian, so they're not very pricey at all. They're, and based on what Amy's saying, I believe it's worth the read. Plus support a young artist.
Thank you.
You heard worth. So that in itself is worth the 15-20 Canadian. That poem alone, honestly, for me, I was sold. So thank you very much, Amy. We one day will invite you back, just have an evening of music and poetry, and let's see how it goes.
I look forward to that.
Perfect. I look forward to it too. So thank you. And guys, remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to share, and reach out to me. Find Amy on Facebook, find her on her Instagram at Amy J.W. Jones. It's real simple. So thank you. And thanks, Amy. Thanks for being a guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. As I said, this is Sandra.